Once upon a time, in the kingdom cradled within the lush valleys of a majestic mountain range, a mighty king sat upon his throne, but restless thoughts tugged at his mind like a boat moored in a storm. Determined to find clarity amidst the tumult of his thoughts, the king resolved to embark on a journey to the secluded monastery nestled deep within the snow-capped mountains of the east. With resolute steps, the king ventured forth from the halls of his palace without an escort. He would make the journey alone. The king traversed rugged terrain and winding paths until at last he stood before the weathered gates of the monastery. Bowing his head, he approached the revered Zen master Ryuji. "Master, I seek your wisdom once more. Though I am the king of the realm, have an army of thousands at my command, and a fortune that will last me a lifetime, my mind is not content. I find my fiercest enemy not in the neighboring kingdoms, but in the stream of my thoughts. For instance, I am constantly troubled by the proceedings in the courtroom. My royal advisors only give me the news I want to hear so that they may win favor and patronage. I am left questioning their loyalties and the nature of their advice, and I worry if I will ever be able to raise my son to become a better king than myself. Tell me, master, how am I to tend to the affairs of my kingdom if I cannot silence my mind?" The Zen master listened quietly to the grievances of the king and, taking a deep breath, laid the following proposition. "My king, the answer you seek lies in the heart of one of your subjects who has hitherto remained aloof from the constraints of the world. Seek him out, and you shall have your answer." The king understood the task, but was uncertain how he would find the single person from amongst the thousands in his kingdom. He nonetheless began his search for the man who fit the monk's description. He opened his courtroom to the public and entertained the masses, offering his subjects a chance to meet their king. Addressing the gathered crowd, the king expressed his desire to acquaint himself with his subjects. Turning to a humble farmer, the king posed a question. "What is the source of your contentment?" With a glint of gratitude in his eyes, the farmer responded, "My farm provides me and my family with plenty of sustenance." The king continued his inquiry. "And what worries you, my friend?" Reflecting for a moment, the farmer confessed, "Sometimes I fret over the possibility of a storm ravaging my crops and disrupting our livelihood." The king then turned to address a wealthy merchant who was clothed in velvet robes. "Tell me," the king prompted, "what brings joy to your heart?" With a knowing smile, the merchant replied, "The prospect of a good profit from my caravans." Inquiring further, the king asked, "And what troubles your mind?" Pausing thoughtfully, the merchant admitted, "I always dread the possibility that bandits could raid my caravan and make off with my goods." Lastly, the king's eye landed on the lanky and stiff frame of an orphan and probed him with the same question about happiness. With a glimmer of optimism in his eyes, the boy said, "The kindness of my friends and the hope for a better tomorrow." Curious to delve deeper, the king posited the second question, "And what troubles your mind from time to time?" Contemplating briefly, the orphan responded, "Sometimes I worry that my friends will leave me." After a month of communication with his subjects, the king was all but convinced that no one was untethered to their worries and returned to the Zen master. "O wise one, my search for this man has amounted to nothing. I realize now that all my people's problems stem from the possibility of not having happiness in the future, but I haven't found the man free from this world's fetters." The Zen master smiled. "My king, even if you had brought me a lamb claiming it was unafflicted from the world's troubles, I wouldn't have believed you, but there is far more that you still haven't considered. Lesson 1. Gratitude. You must surely have realized that all your subjects were grateful for that which brought them happiness. Your time, your status, your ideals, and your morals are indispensable to your identity. But, like most people, you need to remind yourself that what you have is far more important than what you don't. There is a certain hostility that comes with trying to fix yourself. You focus too heavily on the things that bother you without ever stopping to acknowledge everything that is working well. Humans are designed to focus on negatives. It's how they survive. But this might not be the most conducive to stillness and focus. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things he has not, but rejoices for those he has. Now, here is something that your subjects didn't agree on: the true nature of happiness. Lesson 2. Acceptance. There is solace in knowing that no one is ever actually all-knowing. No one ever has all the answers. You are left to ruminate, seek counsel, and do the best you can with the resources at your disposal. Make the decision, knowing that you will never know its consequences, but that you at least steered it in the right direction. We cannot control the outcomes of the actions we set in motion, but we can accept them for what they are. Remember what the Buddha said: pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Lesson 3. Detachment. Learn to disconnect from your thoughts. Detachment is not about forsaking your responsibilities or disengaging from the world around you. It is about finding inner peace amidst the chaos of life. It's the art of observing your thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. It is understanding that external circumstances are fleeting and transient, and that true happiness comes from within. Remember that attachment leads to suffering, but detachment leads to freedom. Lesson 4. Compassion. Our ability to empathize with those around us is the ultimate expression of what it means to be human. It is in the recognition of this interconnectedness of life that true compassion arises. It is the willingness to alleviate the suffering of others and to offer kindness, understanding, and support wherever it is needed. By cultivating compassion, we not only bring comfort and solace to those around us, but also find fulfillment and purpose in our own lives. If you wish to do right by others, be compassionate. And if you wish to do right by yourself, be compassionate. Lesson 5. Mindfulness. To be free from the turmoil of your mind, you must learn to bring your full attention to the present moment without judgment. Like detachment, mindfulness allows us to be aware of our most visceral experiences: the ground beneath our feet, the breeze passing by our ears, and the beating of our hearts. Only through mindfulness can we truly experience the richness of life and connect with the essence of our being. Lesson 6. Forgiveness. If the people around you are the cause of your consternation, then learn to forgive them. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the burden of carrying grudges and allow compassion to flow through our hearts. Forgiveness does not mean condoning or excusing the actions of others, but rather it is a gift we give ourselves to break free from the cycle of suffering. The people who wrong us are no better than us. They are prone to the same cycles of violence, greed, and apathy as ourselves. By forgiving, we release resentment and open ourselves to greater peace and understanding. Lesson 7. Surrender. And lastly, you must surrender. Surrender is not defeat. We are a zero-sum game, and we cannot win or lose against ourselves. Surrender is nothing more than the willingness to let go of our attachment to outcomes and relinquish our need to control every aspect of our lives. When we surrender, we acknowledge the inherent uncertainty of existence itself and embrace the flow of life with an open heart and mind. Surrender does not mean giving up or resigning ourselves to fate, but rather it is a surrender to the present moment, allowing life to unfold naturally. Know that the path to enlightenment lies not in the pursuit of external accolades or material wealth, but in the cultivation of inner peace and spiritual awakening. For if a king cannot be content with the world at his disposal, What does that tell you about the nature of happiness?